Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with the other Misco Toys dinosaur I recently acquired, and then of course the review for the other dinosaur will come after this because I just don't know how that one's going to go. I haven't edited it yet, and I don't know what exactly I was saying about it back then, so fingers crossed it's not terrible. And I obviously am not going to go dig that figure out and re-review it, and I definitely didn't want to buy it again and review it again if I already have it, because it's not the greatest figure. However, this one is actually pretty cool. We've got ourselves a Styracosaurus, and it has such a really neat, old-school, kind of vintage look and feel to it. It very much so reminds me of the Planet of Dinosaurs Styracosaurus. Obviously, it doesn't look perfect to that, but it has such a strong look-alike to that dinosaur that I really enjoy that aspect of this figure. Yet again, it also has that old school kind of Chap look and feel to it, which is something that I also really quite like. And if you're wondering why it has that look, and that's because it is in fact a sculpt that was used by Chap. Now, I don't know that I would call this a bootleg, because it seems as though Chap often shares their sculpts with other companies. I don't know if they purchase them from Chap, or if maybe all of these companies are somehow related to Chap. I have no idea, but this Styracosaurus is definitely a figure that we had seen in the Chap line at one point in time. And after I had actually filmed my review for the Pachycephalosaurus, I found out that that figure as well was definitely a Chap release at one point in time as well. So it seems as though all of these figures, except for this one, because I don't know that I've ever seen that one in Chap line, are figures that were at one point in time released in the Chap line and are now making a reappearance in the Misco Toys line. However, I think in both of these instances, the Chap versions definitely look a lot better than the Misco Toy versions. And if we take a look at the back of the box, again, same thing that we had seen on the last one. So let's pop this out of the box and jump straight to a closer look at it right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Styracosaurus, you can see that the head sculpt looks really cool. Again, we've got all sorts of variation to the scale detail, and you can very clearly see that Chap look and feel to it, especially as far as like older Chap goes. It definitely has that type of skin texture and scale detail where you have so much variation to the scale detail of the figure. I also like the eyes better on this one than on the Pachycephalosaurus, because the eyes, although they have that translucent red look, it's also a lot darker, and it's not so obvious that it is in fact that light up eye. I just think it looks cooler. As you move up into the horn of the dinosaur, the horn is fantastic when it comes to the sculpt and detail. Like, if you look at it, it is extremely highly detailed. It has all sorts of kind of cracks and crevices and everything moving up through the entire horn, which looks really nice. And obviously that as well has the translucent, red look to it where it's going to light up. Not the most realistic thing in the world, but it is what it is, I guess. The nostrils are sculpted out. You can see the beak as well sports some absolutely fantastic cracks and crevices and detail to it. And then you can see that we're also given a nice kind of a white or a light gray for the beak. The tongue is showing up here on the inside of the mouth, and the tongue itself is nicely textured. Well, maybe not nicely textured, but it does have some texturing. It looked better over here. For some reason, it does look a lot, well, if my camera would focus, it does look better over here when it comes to the texturing, and then you turn it around, and now it just looks really generic. That's very strange. I don't know why that is. Some nice looking skin texture and everything down here for the lower jaw as well. You have a brown for the lower jaw, a dark gray up here for the face, and then some orangish tones showing up randomly as you move through the course of both the face and the frill. The detailing up in the frill also looks awesome, and you can see the horns are sculpted nicely, painted again with that light tone. And I like how some of the horns are kind of like, they have that look like they're chipped and broken and stuff. Again, Chap was always so good at adding in little things like that I think just really amp up the awesome factor of a figure. Again, Misco Toys, I don't know for sure how they've acquired these figures, if these are in fact bootlegs, or if they purchased these figures, because obviously these are long retired from Chap, and I see this kind of thing all the time when it comes to companies like, of course, Misco Toys, also Animal Planet does it, Kid Connection at Walmart, of course Chap themselves, even Adventure Force. I've seen this kind of thing from them as well. So I have no idea exactly, but I will say Chap definitely did it better when it comes to this figure. As you move here to the back of the head, again, you can see some decent looking detail there in the back of the frill. You can also see that some of the horns are painted a little bit sloppily as we have the dark gray kind of moving through. You can see it's basically like they took an airbrush and ran it over. And same deal for the front, but they just kind of neglected the sides. As you move down here into the body, again, the actual detailing looks great. There's just so much to it, so much variation to the scale, detail, and skin texture. You can see finer skin texture here, clusters of scales right here. You've got some osteoderms that are, varying in size, moving through, kind of like an armored sort of scoot-like appearance moving down along the back. You've also got ridges following the spinal column. So there is a whole lot going on when it comes to the actual skin texture of the figure. Again, just, screaming Chap because that's where the figure originated from. But you can also see we've got some nice looking paintwork as we have a dark gray moving down along the back that very nicely transitions away as you move down. You've got some more of that gray kind of spotting and just patterning through the course of the body as you move out. And then as you lead down into the leg, you've got some nice muscle definition in the leg. You can see this leg is picking up off of the ground as the dinosaur's walking along. The foot sculpt looks really good. We've got some very nicely sculpted nails. Even the detailing in the nails is really well done. So impressive to me how awesome looking old school Chap figures really are. And you can see all sorts of skin wrinkles and skin creases down here in the lower part of the stomach. Again, clusters of osteoderms and stuff here in the back of the leg and the thigh. You can even see that here in the kneecap of the dinosaur. All sorts of creases and everything as you move down through the course of the leg. You've got clusters of larger scales in the back of the thigh and back of the calf. And again, the foot sculpt here in the back leg looks really good as well. And then you lead out and the tail has a nice curve to it. The tail is very small, but you can see again the opposing side looks pretty much the same except for the positioning of the legs is definitely different. You can see this leg is extended out. This leg is kind of trailing, I think. And actually, it's pretty close. It's actually a little bit further forward potentially than the other one. But overall, outside of the positioning of the legs and the tail facing away, the only big difference you're going to see over here is the screw holes, because we have quite a few screw holes on this side compared to what we see on the initial side. But it is still a pretty cool looking figure, and again, considering it is absolutely a figure that originated in the Chap line, I've got a very, very strong soft spot for it. As far as the articulation and everything goes, the jaw does not articulate. The neck definitely looks like it does, but I feel like that's going to be part of the action feature. This leg is really stiff, and I don't see a button anywhere, so I'm going to go ahead and say that's probably how we activate the action feature, so we won't mess with that quite yet. We do have a little articulation in the rear leg, though it doesn't move a whole lot. And that's it for the front leg as well. Again, only forward a little ways and back, and then the rear leg, same thing. So there is articulation, it's just not very good. And we're actually going to dim the lights to do the action feature so we can see the lights of the eyes and the horn. Interestingly enough, I expected the neck to move. So now I'm just going to go ahead and try it. The neck didn't really do anything, and you can see that we just have a very, very slight amount of articulation. It's a very obvious seam. You would expect way better articulation there, but not so much. The light-up action feature, though, did look pretty cool, I guess, for what it is. Kids will definitely enjoy that. And, of course, we have the Godzilla noises again. As far as a size goes, though, for a length, you were looking at about 9 inches or 23 centimeters, and then for a height, about 5 1/4 inches or 13.5 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect Day Human Being, next to our Styracosaurus from Misco Toys. And you can see it does sport a pretty good, pretty impressive size to it overall. And this is another one of those instances where I don't think we need very many comparisons, so for just one other comparison, we brought in a Mattel Triceratops that I felt like would look, pretty cool next to the Styracosaurus here, give you an idea of the size and the fact that they're kind of similar in size. A little bit taller for the Styracosaurus, but a little bit longer for the Mattel Triceratops. So this Misco Toys Styracosaurus is pretty cool, but I don't really give much credit to Misco Toys for that because their contributions to the figure aren't so great. First of all, the sculpt is awesome on this, but that's because it is originally a Chap May release, which is why the sculpt is so good. The sculpt is extremely highly detailed and sports that awesome, very exaggerated sculpt and fine detail that if you are familiar with the old school Chap May line, you're going to be very familiar with. It's something that I personally really quite enjoy, and this figure is loaded with it. Definitely having that awesome look to it when it comes to an old school Chap May figure, but we have a brand new version here of it for Misco Toys release, which means they've given it their own personal touch as far as the paintwork goes, and although it does look nice, it's not nearly as nice as what Chap May had on it. If you take a look back at the old Chap May version, it looked way better than what we have here because we have a lot less when it comes to the paint apps. But what we do have does look nice and natural, I think, and overall they've done a fairly decent job on the paint apps. One thing, though, that is very noticeable for me when it comes to a difference between this and the original Chap May version is the fact that this feels very lightweight and cheap, whereas the Chap May version felt a lot higher quality. So there's something, again, to keep in mind that these do have a very cheap feel to them overall. It does have some articulation, but it barely works. It does also have a light up feature. Not so great, not really that impressive. I mean, it works okay, it's just kind of goofy, but kids will probably enjoy it. Unfortunately, we've got the Godzilla noise, which is terrible. I'm just tired of Dinosaur Toys having that because it doesn't make any sense to me, especially now for two different species that are very different to have the same noise. But again, I don't think that they really care too much. The action feature is pretty much non-existent as well. It feels like it should have some sort of a ramming action feature where the head would move similar to what we saw with the Pachycephalosaurus, but it doesn't work. The neck very barely moves at all, so not really that great either. In other words, the figure has its ups and it has its downs. Overall, it's not that great, but it's at least pretty cool. So if you are interested, grab yourself one from your local Dollar Tree in the $5 section, and you can add this very interesting Styracosaurus to your collection, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.